So, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. How are you, everybody?
Mm,
So, yeah, let's start again with, this is really amazing, how we kind of, in this Corona COVID energy, and I think it will take a lot of more months and maybe years until we come off
Yes.
that subject, right? So first, let me know, how is the energy and how are things in Brazil, Danilo? How are the awakening going? How is the
Uh,
consciousness going? How is your consciousness going? What's going on?
so, Brazil, like like I said last week, they are being more restrict now. So they are starting to like block some streets now. You can only go out one day yes and one day no with your car. So if you go out, you get a ticket fee. Like depends on your card number. If it's finished with 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10, you can go out on the even days, and if it's not, you cannot. So it depends on the car number, and so they're putting more restrictions, and also now you have to use masks. So I also have to use mask if I want to go, even in my building. Like if you go anywhere, you have to use masks, or you can get a fee of up to $100,000 or something like that.
What?
Like it's
Are you
I didn't
kidding me?
I didn't understand.
What?
I didn't understand. Like they said
Repeat that. How much money fee of not wearing a mask? Just repeat that.
no.
This is
So
ridiculous.
the fee is like from $100 to 100,000. Like there like many different categories. Like for example, if you sneeze on a police officer, you get like a very high fee, something like that. So
Who's
there
sneezing? Who's sneezing on a police officer? I mean, who goes there and
so
it's like, come on, what's that?
there are many fees now they're putting in if you don't use masks, and like even some places that are open, they don't allow people to stay inside, and if the place and people are not using masks inside, let's say a clinic or something, they will feed the place. So like there are a lot of restrictions now,
How
and
does it
now
make you? How does it make you feel, and how you deal with that?
I didn't get surprised because I know this was happening all around the world. So like this is not new thing for me. Like I said, Brazil is always late, so there's not much surprise here because let's say Germany did that, United States did that before, so Brazil didn't do that yet. So it was going to happen one day or another. So I already knew this was coming. So like the
How
fee.
does it make you feel?
Um, because I was expecting it. I don't think I already knew it was going to happen, but I just use and like I don't use I like my mask doesn't protect me from anything. This is like a very cheap one, like so I just use because I don't want to get bothered by the policemen and stuff. I don't go out much, so I only used one or twice. But yeah, I think it's something that the government is trying to do.
And how is the energy there in Brazil? Any people going on the streets or demonstrating, or everybody going along and
No,
said,
no,
"Oh
no.
yeah, great, let's do the mask," and yeah, no
There are
problem.
a lot of people who use the mask, but they don't. They say like, "Oh, I don't believe in this Corona thing. I don't believe." There are a lot of people like talking like that, and but everyone is using. There is no protest of not using. Some people are very afraid of things. Like one of my father's friends he's very afraid of getting corona. But at the same time, a lot of people they are getting together. Like they're trying new things. They are supporting each other. There are a lot of things like in an apartment, there are some people who are making the grocery for the elderly. Like there's a list, like you can, if you're an old person, you can just put your name and someone from the building will get the grocery for you. Like there are a lot of these kind of things happening as well.
Okay, I guess energy in Germany is very different. It's turning really around. So we had yesterday announced that 500,000 people will demonstrate in Stuttgart. So then last second, the government restricted all of a sudden the demonstrations on 5,000. And in the night, there are some machines, some announcement, where some speakers, and for demonstrations, you can use some speakers, and some different materials got burned. So, I mean, who is doing that? You can imagine that there's a big purpose on burning speakers where you can reach 100,000 people and tell something to them. So it's pretty obvious we are reaching very strange times. And for me personally, it's unbelievable that there are not more demonstrations all over the world, that people are not able to see the agendas behind it. We have a lot of things going on all over the world. Right now, there's a law trying to pass in America. That law, I think I sent it to you. I don't know. It's actually has a number 666 plus 6. I mean, come on.
I heard.
You heard that?
Yes.
I mean, 666 plus 6 is a very interesting number also. And so that law is saying if you get tested, you can get force tested, and even if you're not positive, you can be transported to another place, and even your children. I mean, it's pretty scary. So also other things which I see is going around, that especially here in Europe, it's very dangerous to speak up. There are a lot of people getting arrested right now, also people I know personally. So it's starting. And so for me personally, I'm not giving up. I'm doing every second day. I'm doing a live stream on my Facebook and YouTube channel in German, and started with 5 people being online, and right now we are almost 50 every evening. And I get a lot of people telling me, please don't stop that. Even if we are not live, we're looking at later. So we have to keep the freedom of thought, and we have to look up. And I think for me, it's really amazing how many people are just satisfied and just okay, because it's not really dangerous yet for them, and not able to see what the danger is of not having speech, free speech, and not having the possibility of demonstrations. Right now, there also started demonstrations in Switzerland. And also the police there were pretty aggressive, taking people away from demonstrations. And I want to say, that there's, I think that is very important to say that in Austria, there were some doctors, and one doctor who really spoke out that the coronavirus, in his opinion, is not really dangerous, that this is all an agenda being played on us to put through different laws and different things. And he ended up in the mental hospital. I think I mentioned that before. So that are all the things that should open our eyes, because if this is really not a problem to speak up, then why somebody is entering a mental hospital if he speaks up? Then, a democracy should hold that energy, should have that capacity to have 2 opinions. So that should be the minimum of that we're discussing things, and that we have a right for demonstration. So I think right now it's a very crucial time to protect us from what is more to come. And I really pray and hope and active say also, please guys, research, it will affect you. It's not going away by alone if we don't stand up. That is absolutely my opinion right now. And so I hope that will happen. Otherwise, I think we have a time frame where you really wonder what will be possible. And I think that was also the subject today, as like talking about connecting to Earth, because, you know, if this is not possible anymore for us to be human, yeah, to be human without being traced, without having technology attached to us, without being forced vaccinated. So at least there should be the freedom of choice. I personally don't choose to have any microchip in me, or I don't have any interest to be restricted on any tracker or anything, or in any app that I can do certain things. And I think that's the beginning of something where how we call that, cyborgs. So where the real cyborgs also could be created. And that is really, really interesting subject. And I think it's important to look at that. And I think the mindset of most people is like, that is what I feel. Oh, it doesn't really affect me, so I don't really bother. And I think that is a very dangerous mindset, because I'm sure that God gave us a brain to think, and it's a really good time to use it right now. I mean, that is really, really what I suggest right now. So, yeah, what are you saying to that, Danilo?
Yes, like we talked about, I think that's the thing. Like, people will not actually take action, or, you know, see for themselves if they are not actually being affected in
Right.
all sorts of level, be it emotional, intellectual, or physical. Usually people act more when they are physically affected, when they are, or emotionally. And people who are visionaries are those who they act even though when they are only intellectually affected. For example, just a thought of about it, they start to think about, and they start to see they start to think about the future, and they act. But most people, they act when they're physically affected.
Why do
You
you
know,
think
when,
that is like this? Why do you think so? I mean, that is something I have a very hard time to understand, that, because I think I feel so connected to the earth and to everybody, and I cannot understand. I mean, this is that even before Corona, I had a very hard time to understand that. So why do you
so
think that is like that?
it's really hard to people understand the, like, how bad something is if they haven't experienced it, or even how good something is. That's the same thing for good things are bad things. Like, for example, even though, like, for example, you're offering something very good for him, and if he doesn't feel affected in physical, emotional, or intellectual level, he will not take action even if you tell him it's good. And I think it's the same for good and bad. It's like saying, imagine someone who never tried a banana, and you give him a banana. He will not, and you say, okay, you come to my house and I give you a banana. He will
Okay, he
not
doesn't.
come, because he will not have the incentive. So for people to try to imagine things they have never experienced, it's very hard. So I think that's
True.
one of the cases. Probably the people who are acting now are those who have experienced, in some sense, something similar before, or, you know, have some experience in other things, or have researched on some other things. So it's really hard to, like, but when it hits like a nationwide, like when the experience comes, like, for example, before it was only in China, only a few people were thinking about it. Now it's everywhere. Now everyone is thinking about it. Like, when it comes to you, like, then more people start to take action. So I think this is something that's it's always going to happen. Like, trying to but if you try to inspire people before, like, I think timing is very important also, to, like, you know, when you're going to give a message or anything to someone. um so that's my opinion. Like, that's why I think, like, a lot of people don't take action. And
Okay. I have also thought about it.
yes,
You know, our channel is about pineal gland.
yes,
And the pineal gland is like an antenna. I mean, you experienced that also in the darkness retreat when you were there,
Yes.
that you even connected to the energy of your father and your brother, and you had not just the emotional response, but all of a sudden you felt the energy in a very different way because you're connected to the souls. And that, in my opinion, comes, this connection we have mostly first with our families, but later on also with other souls which are connected, can only happening when our pineal gland is starting to opening up, plus our heart chakra is starting to opening up. And that, I think there's a big issue, let's say like that the pineal gland and the heart chakra is not enough open in most
Yes.
people, right?
Mhm.
So, in my opinion, there's not enough care, not enough, how do you say, like feeling that we are one, like this compassion which comes naturally when you achieve certain levels of consciousness in meditation, where you feel this love and you feel this connection, and you're like, wow. Also, when you go in the nature, you see the trees, and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I remember being in New York because my aunt was very sick, and they put her on the ventilator. And I had to stay like for 1 month in the ICU with my little son. And,
Mhm.
it was very bad. And I walked every day from the hotel back to the hospital. And to go straight was very near. And I always did the extra turn through the Central Park because I started after 1 week to miss the trees so much. And I
Mhm.
felt that in my energy. I felt that even in my way of thinking and in my way of connection. I think it does something to your pineal gland also. And so I want to say here too that I think many people think it's conspiracy, but we have to understand that many governments put fluoride in the water. The
Yes.
fluoride is doing something. Please research that. If you have fluoride in your drinking water, in your salt or stuff, it really affects on your pineal gland. So you're just not able. You're just not able to receive, and you're just locked in your own little cage, which the television gives you like everything you have to think. It's like cared thinking, and somebody is doing the cared thinking for you, and it's very difficult to reach out. That's why I'm also thinking it's so important to connect to nature, because if we stay in the nature, in my opinion, I mean, I feel the difference when I do a walk in the forest, when I go in the garden. I feel the connection is much more there. It opens my heart again, releases tension, it releases stress. Nowadays, a lot of people staying at homes where they don't have a garden. I mean, we are
Mhm.
living hugely in the nature. You are here, you know how we live, but most
Yes.
people are really locked in with any nature at all. Maybe they have a plant in a pot next to them, but else than that, there's nothing
Yes.
which has to do with nature. So I'm sure that all has some impact. Yeah.
Yes, that definitely has a impact on how you feel, think, and act. Everyone who goes to a beach or to the forest and stays at least for 3 days will start to notice the difference. At
Yes.
first, you never feel the difference. You think, oh, I'm bored, like when
Yes.
you're used to all the all this city life. You go to nature, I think the first day you might feel you're bored, you might start to worry about how I'm going to stay here for 1 week. But on the
Right.
second and the third day, some things start to change, and I think that's how it takes some time for the energy of the environment to actually
Mhm.
take place. At least if you're not open, if you're open to it, it might come faster.
Mhm.
So, like if you go to a park and you open yourself to nature, this process might happen faster. But and once you get there, you actually start to think, feel different. You start to crave for different things. You start to care for different things. Like you said, like it's a different. You start to vibrate differently. So
Yes.
this also can be one of the reasons why people like we cannot expect people to think like we think because they are still not in that vibration yet. And for people who have been practicing, like okay, I've been like people who have been practicing meditation or being connected to nature, um, connect again is easier than who are trying to connect for the first time. And especially if you're trying to connect for the first time in this moment, like it's going to be really hard. So Yes, I think there's these two things. Like, I think it's really important for us to really be connected to nature, to go to nature and stay there, even though we feel a little bit bored at the beginning, and just be there until all the internal process, like it's clear, all the negativity is released, and then you start to notice that you start to think and feel differently, and after that trying to inspire people around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I want to share also something today. I mean, I had a situation where I saw some videos about people being on Telegram, Facebook, podcasting, the demonstrations. People got in trouble with the police and stuff. And I felt very disturbed and very angry and upset. And also a little bit worried about, hey, what's going on with all our rights? How easily you can just sweep the rights of people away. And so many people are not just even questioning it. So this thoughts came up, and it became so much that I became not just angry, but there was a point where I feel I couldn't move. I felt like so helpless. And I was just sitting there and staring. And I actually had a lot of work, but I was not able to do anything. And just I wasted my time. And then luckily, some energy in me said, go outside. And I felt even, oh, I don't want to go outside. That's the thing, if you're
Yes.
really down, you don't even have the, you don't even care.
Yes.
I just felt, okay, I go to bed and I just make everything dark and I just cry and I don't care. So luckily I put this body in the garden, and I was sitting on the floor on a blanket, and the sun is shining, and all the birds coming, and the butterfly comes, and I see some herbs, and I take some herbs and eat them. And my husband is saying, oh, you don't look so good, you want any salad? He's going to the greenhouse, put me some salad in my hand. I eat the salad. So, and after 10, 15, 20 minutes, I didn't even do anything. I just sit there.
Yes.
That's the thing. The nature is just a healer. I felt like, oh, okay, I feel different. I just feel different.
Yes.
And my heart opened, and I started to care about again, about everybody around me, because I felt also, actually later I thought, wow, that is very selfish. Me being sorry about myself and sorry about the world and not doing my work, la la la. Well, it was so deep, because I think for many people who are awakened, or at least see through some illusions connected to that situation we are going through right now, it's very heavy to hold that. And even to see some things in the future. Right now, I have a Facebook friend. I didn't even met him in person, but we started to make some jokes of, can you send me some blue pill just for one day so I can have a break? So I
Yes.
can enjoy the matrix and the illusion again, like other people do it, and just believe what the news saying, and that's it. I mean, it's a big responsibility also to be so aware and so awake. And once you reach certain level of consciousness, it's very hard to go back. But there is a point, in my opinion, also in my life, I just can talk about myself, where I sometimes feel I want to go back just for a little bit. I can absolutely understand this guy in the movie Matrix who really said, I have enough. I don't care to be awake. Just give me the blue pill. I take the money. I take everything. Just leave me alone with the shit. I just want to have a good life, right? So, but it's nobody's here with a blue pill, so I have to deal with it. So anyhow, also I think he's a traitor, so it's not good to go that way. It's better to be red
Yes.
pilled. But sometimes I personally go through that times, and I really feel how every time I'm going to sit in the nature, how that just I'm not doing anything, no mantra, nothing. I'm just sitting there. That energy is just shifting. And all of a sudden I'm laughing, I'm so happy, and I'm feeling so thankful for this nature we have, and that, all the herbs are coming, and I could just eat just greens from the garden the whole day, and there's so much there, and we don't have to go shopping, I feel the thankfulness and connection. And also I see how the nature does even too much. I mean, it does for the bees, it does for the butterflies, it does for the
Yes.
birds, and I think that is the power of nature.
Yes. I think like
Mm.
this time, like more people are also valuing more nature and being outside. Like we talked about before, you have to experience seclusion, let's say, or you have to be secluded to actually know the value. If it's
Mhm.
always there, you sometimes you don't give the value. So I think now when parks are open again, when when you can meet people again, people will be a lot more grateful. And I think like about this blue pill thing, this is was something that I read on Yogananda's book this week. He was talking about how when you realize that law of karma is always at work, like you don't have to worry about what others do because they're like karma will take care. And even for you, you don't have to worry about things that will happen to you because that's your karma. In some sense you start to get freer, like you are still awake, but also at the same time you let go of that minus of control. You have the blue and the red pill. I would say you have the peacefulness of the blue. Like blue pill, they are not peaceful at all because they are attached to so many things. But
Yes, yes,
you
yes.
have the true freedom, because in the blue pill you will be maybe a lot more stressed than
That's
on,
true.
on
That's
red pill.
true. That's
You'll be
true. So
worried.
yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, yes,
you will be worried about, okay, my business now, what I'm
yes.
going to do, my girlfriend, I cannot see my friends, I want to drink. In blue pill you will be suffering a lot more.
Yes, a lot of people, I'm sure, suffering.
So like to like actually get freedom is to understand that there is this law of karma and not trying to control things. And that's how he was talking about, how do you forgive people, how do you don't care about what people do. And he talks about like, why should I care, or why should I try to punish them for something that they're creating it. And in the end, when you see things like that, it's like, it's not me against you, it's us against karma. It's like, okay, I'm not trying to for me I'm not trying to do something good for you. I'm trying to help you not harm yourself. I'm trying to, I'm not trying to save you, but I'm trying to save you from yourself. Like, I'm not trying to be your savior. Like, when you have compassion in that sense, I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, a
Like,
little bit confused right now.
like like for example, when you help people, like you can have the mentality of, okay, I'm trying to do this because I know it's good for you, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to help you. Or you can do it like, okay, it's not that I'm trying to help you, I'm trying to let you not to win against your own karma.
Yes, I think yes, I get this. I think just I have to say we're in a little bit different situation right now in the world level, and I want to talk about that too. But I like this idea of Puna. Can you make a video of Law of Karma? Because there's an amazing book. It's called Law of Karma from
Uh-huh.
Sve Puja, I think is his name, and you can Google it up, Law of Karma. Or we can also add it later here on that. So can send a link later on YouTube. It's a really a very interesting book. And when I read that, I was like very surprised that some souls even pay karma in front. There's, because the idea of what the West normally has of karma is something where we about that karma is always bad and we are just creating bad karma and la la la. But the Jain tradition even talks about even creating too much good karma. And in
Yeah.
that book, yeah, it's very interesting. And in that book, they even talk about, so then you are also attached to coming back here. It's very interesting.
Mm.
Oh, it's so complex. And then this level of paying karma forward or paying karma for others. So that would be a great video we can do. But I just want to come back to the pandemic right now and how I see that right now. I mean, there's a personal karma we have, there's a karma of the humanity, and there's a karma of the planet, and there's even a karma of the universe, of this universe. I'm sure
Yeah.
about that. And so, this is how I experience it. I don't know how you experience, but many times I wake up and I'm happy and like, yeah. And so it's like, oh, Corona. Okay. So this is how I feel, there's my personal karma and there's this karma of where, I'm just forced to be in. And I have to say, of course, that also has a reason. I'm sure we are incarnated in this time for a reason. And on a higher level, I'm sure many of us choose that. But what I'm in this point, maybe you're not agreeing on that, but I just say it very clear. For me right now, I really see is even though we have the choice right now, we just let the bad guys win, and we are so stupid and we are sheeps. Excuse me, but I have to say that. I really have to say that very clearly. And we let the bad guys win, and we even accept that and say, okay, that's our karma. Or, in my opinion, we have a very big chance that the energy is lifting up, and we get cleared up of thousands of years condition, of thousands of years slavery. This is what I heard even 3 months before that pandemic happened, that there was a cosmic fight. And, if you see in the Indian gods, many of them have weapons. So many people think it's just to be laid down and just forgive and so on. But all the gods and goddesses in the Indian tradition, if we just talk about where the karma comes from, they're fighting for the good. They're standing in for the good. They're not just letting anything happen. Yeah. And so there was a cosmic war. This is what I heard from different sources. And actually, it was clear in that cosmic law that Earth is entering freedom, that Earth was under attack of different entities and aliens agendas. And not just alien agendas, but also shapeshifters and people who just misused human beings. And that most of the people right now in such a deep mass hypnosis of not able to see that. And the problem is even that battle was won in the cosmos. All the humans have to wake up to that. So we have to make a stand. If we stand for that and for that, and there are some cosmic laws. And in this time, the cosmic law is that you have to consent or not consent. So, for example, if somebody's tell you, okay, get a vaccination, you say, okay, then I get a vaccination. You consent. You just consent. So it's starting small. In my opinion, it starts wearing the mask or not, and goes on to the higher level. So this is, in my opinion, a test run, how far you can go. That's why I'm very happy that people going on the streets and starting to demonstrate, not everywhere in the world, but that some people get it, because in the higher cosmic law, what I understood, that battle was won. But if we are, let's say, not standing up because we are tricked in this belief systems, which are also connected to, we're connected to different spirituality teachings, which I'm really convinced of not standing up for ourselves and just leaning back, then we're consenting to a different kind of reality where nature will not have a lot to say. And I had a astral projection. I don't know if I told that here or if I told that in German. If I told that here, please interrupt me and tell me. I don't want to tell the same thing again. But I had an astral projection some months ago. And that astral projection was very clear. I had this clear out-of-body experience, and I knew I entered the future. So I was in the future, and there was a beautiful, like a rainforest, what you have in Brazil. So in that rainforest there was a big area, was just gone. And then there was some houses and some like kind of antennas and stuff. And that antennas and that buildings that were humans, but with technical items attached to them. And that antennas were controlling that humans. And I got the message, if we not staying connected to the earth and the nature, if we are not connected to, to the Mother Earth, this will happen, and then some other energy will take care and take over. And I got this warning, and unfortunately, I didn't ask who they are. So I did, that I forgot that. I mean, that would be very interesting. But I think I think that is also a feeling I get right now. Of this, if you Google up ID 2020, what I try to do is to give like, I mean, this is my reminder for my lucid dreams that gives me like every time like a bzz, 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 bzz. So every few minutes, so that I can make reality checks for lucid dreaming. So, but can you imagine, so those things are like tracker devices, look like that, bracelets in Hong Kong. So the next step is putting that in our bodies. And for me personally, I don't want to lay back and say, okay, that might be karma. I don't care. If it's a law, then okay, just do that for me. Oh, wow, hell no. Yeah, I mean, that is not the world I personally want to live in. And I think if we agree to that, then we really don't deserve different. I really have to say that.
Yes,
So
I think the I think sometimes people misunderstand what it means to know that everything is karma. Like when you know that what you're experiencing it's karma and it actually is your or collective. It doesn't mean that you should care or not care. It's not about care. It's not about thinking about what is happening now, but thinking about what are you going to do now. It's like if you keep trying to fight, be it good or bad, the results, then it means that you're not acting in the best possible. So understanding the law of karma is, for in my perspective, at least on my understanding right now, is to focus on knowing that what I'm doing now is what I'm going to experience tomorrow or what I'm going to experience in a month or in a year. So I'm not going to waste my time focusing on the things that I'm experiencing right now, but I'm going to waste my time on doing the things that I know it's right, so that eventually I start to only experience the things that I'm planting. So it's not to worry about what kind of fruits are are ready on your garden, or which one got sick or which one did not, but worrying about on which seed are you going to plant today. Because if I keep worrying about, okay, oh, I didn't have lettuce today, I didn't have tomatoes, and you don't plant the right seeds today, um like, okay, I didn't have lettuce, oh, that's my karma. Okay, I didn't have tomatoes, that's my karma. And you be there, or you accept, either accepting it or trying to fight it. Okay, hey earth, why didn't you give me tomato? Like, worrying about the results, it's not, it's, I don't think it's the principle of karma. It's focusing on action, focusing on, like, okay, what happening is my past actions, what I'm going to do now that, okay, will bring me correct actions. And that can be like, being true to yourself, not agreeing to things. Like, it doesn't mean that, just because I don't care what is happening, I don't, because I know it's karma, I will not take the right actions. So I think, for my understanding, is when you, at least for me, when I feel like I don't have to worry about what is happening now, but I do have to worry about what I'm doing now, because this is what I'm going to experience later on, right? So if you truly understand that whatever you experience is from your actions, you should truly understand that whatever action you take is extremely important, right?
yes, absolutely. I really think that too. And also, it's not just blaming it's a karma, especially you talked about gardening, and we're practicing permaculture. And our experience is it's really amazing that when you really do right permaculture, the nature gives you more than you expect. I mean, we had one year, we had 35 kgs of tomatoes and we didn't even know what to do with that. So, and then if we do in 1 year, the last year, we had two less. And so there was a sickness on the tomatoes. And to sit back and say, oh, okay, why the earth did that, of course, didn't solve something, but accepting it also not. We Googled up what could be that source of sickness. We made a picture of that. We sent it to a friend who is a permaculture expert. And he told us, oh, that's the nutrient deficiency. Okay, so we changed that. And so now this year, I'm sure we learned a lot from that. So I think that is very important, that we don't get passive into kind of saying, oh, it's all karma. I think that is what I really really feel strongly. I mean, I can have an opinion, and I can have a wish for the world to enter in a higher dimension. I can have a wish and stand up for my rights, and you know what I mean. So that I think is very
Yes,
important.
yes. I think understanding that what you're experiencing is karma is not about being passive, but actually being active.
Right.
It's knowing that, okay, if you do the same things, you will experience the same things.
Right.
But it's not trying to fight what you're experiencing now, but trying to create a new future by
Absolutely.
doing what you have to do, independent
Right.
of what is happening right now. So, for
Right.
example, if I start to meditate right now, I'm going to meditate every day, even though things are not going well, because I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
worry about that. I'm going to do what I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm planting, even though the tomatoes that are coming out are not good, I'm gonna keep planting well. I'm gonna keep researching. I'm
Right.
gonna
Right.
keep
Right. 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 Right.
trying to do what I'm doing best right now in the present. I think that's what it means to not worry about the know that the karma is just a result. It's not something that you can change. So like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so if everything that right now we're experiencing is something bad, um like I should be focusing my energy on, okay, what can I do now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not on, okay, this is or to worry or be sad about what is happening. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what true karma means. It's not about being passive, but actually being active. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're passive, you're still attached to the results. You know, you
Sure.
still worry about the things that are happening.
Sure. I like this question. How far do you think we are from reaching the next spiritual dimension? I'm asking now because chaos brings change. Yeah, I like this. Chaos brings change, and there's a chaos theory. So I'm not a mathematic guy, woman, but actually, I know that the chaos is necessary for some change. And actually, I have to say, I had this idea on Easter that we are ready to jump into that next dimension and truth, and all the people waking up about the governments and what's beyond it, and about the alien agendas and everything, and we just switch. And of course, that was a little bit a girly dream. I understand that now. And but I don't know. I think we have a big impact in that because, as Danilo always says, 100 million people are needed to wake up until that change automatically happens. And so there, I don't know how far we are away from that. I don't know, but here in Germany, I see a lot of people waking up. But I also see, I have to say, there's a lot of brainwash, and that is very good and well done and goes very deep. And that brainwash goes, of course, through politics, who's sponsored by so much money. And it's, I mean, I want to say something very funny. It's really interesting, what can happen if you awake to that. There was a police, call to some little city, and somebody had a hotel, like a small hotel. And so he was living over that. And the police was called because he threw out the television through the window on the street. I absolutely could relate to this guy. I felt so much compassion for him. So I think he had a forced realization of how much lies the media are telling, and he just had it until here and he couldn't hear it and see it anymore. And then he threw it through the window. So so I think if this level is reached by I'm sorry, but it's kind of funny, is reached by some more people, if we see more news like that, then we have a big chance that we don't have to enter bigger chaos. But that is a question, you know. Some days I feel pretty positive, But then it's like two timelines of reality, you know. In my timeline of friends and everybody, most people are awake. So of course, if I look at Facebook with the connections I have, I see mostly very awake and aware people, or live streaming from demonstrations and stuff like that. But then when I go in a shop and I see how many people go without a mask and have the guts to go without the mask, and even stay, okay, then I have to pay for it, then I even get arrested, you know, how less people are standing up. Then again, I get a very big doubt if we reach that. So I don't know. I mean, that is a question here, and that is what we, in a positive way, fighting for. And please, guys, you have to do your work. You have to kind of talk with each other. You have to meditate. You have to visualize the world you want. And you have to be very careful what agendas are under that. You have to be a little paranoid right now. It's a good thing to be paranoid right now. Please be
Yes.
paranoid.
1 sec, I'm just going to close the door and I'll come back.
Sure. Okay, and maybe I can say something about, also projection moment. I first say something here. Indu, I can say that I research a lot on that. And I just talked to Danilo before we did that live stream that maybe we can find somebody who can blink in some truth or some, I mean, as Danilo said, it takes so much time to editing videos. But on the same time, it's really good to have the links of where you find these evidences. And what I researched is there's a lot of agendas, and not just from one race. So if you want to look up more on that, I really advise to check out Laura Eisenhower. She is the granddaughter of the president of the US, Eisenhower, and she knew about the contracts the Gray signed with her grandfather. She talks about that. She doesn't care anymore what people think about her. So I really appreciate that, but because I know that it's that most people don't talk about that because they want to fit in. Yeah. So she is one of the very few people who also bring in her shows, like people who are experts on that and really good people who talk about that. So, and she is giving a lot of proofs as well. So also David Icke, of course, he does over 20 years trying to wake up people. But of course, there's a lot of agendas. So for me, it's really about, you know, getting the, also understanding who ruled us for so many years, you know, and why there are so many poor countries, why there's so many war went on, or what is the agendas all behind it. If you look at all this, there's a lot of more questions coming up, because I don't know anybody who wants war. Anybody here wants war? Anybody here wants poor children? Anybody feels happy to have that? I don't think so. I mean, I think the normal human race has a beautiful heart, has a beautiful open pineal gland, third eye, has an amazing spiritual energy, and that is who we really are, right?
Yes. And in the sense of the aliens, I don't have any proof. I don't have anything, but I definitely I believe that there are many with us already, and they are definitely somehow involved in like some sense, be it in a battle or I don't know how, but I know like there are many races already, and also the Pentagon released some videos of UFOs. I think
Yes,
2 or 3 weeks ago. Now it's going to be more. They're going to open up. I think they're going to open up this little by little, but I believe they have been here all the time since this civilization and the previous ones that we don't even know about, like the history doesn't even talk about. But yes, I think like the important thing now is to know that every action that we are doing now as individual is creating a new future. Is like that's the law of karma. So know that if you decide to do something, is that you're either helping to create a better or a worse future that you are going to experience yourself. And that's why I think it's important to do like meditate and practice, connect to earth, even though it feels hard right now, even though the circumstances are. I'm telling this to myself as well, because I cannot say that, okay, even though knowing this is one thing, practicing it's another thing.
I know.
And I'm talking this to myself as well, that even though the situations are not so favorable to practice positivity, to practice what you know it's right, to practice to connect to earth, meditate, and be compassionate and things like that. This is a very crucial moment to do that, because or else this will not change, or else
Yes.
nothing will change, or else we will be here all the time in the same situation with the same pressure. We are experiencing our past actions, and now we are creating our future experiences. So like you said, like if people just follow the situations right now and don't take actions to create themselves, they're just creating the same word again and again. So it's not about
Absolutely.
being passive, it's about, and it's also not about worrying too much about what is happening, but focusing on worrying about what you are doing. So as I said, I'm talking this to myself as well, because I also,
Um,
if I look back, I cannot say I had the most the like I would say the best week I would have, or the most um, focused or awakened week that I had. But
It's
at the
normal,
same
Danilo. It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. We have to also learn to be compassionate for ourselves. This, what happens here, is very deep. And,
yes.
who knows what else you're feeling? I have friends where the kids are coming to that question right now. I just want to say something to this. I have friends where the kids all of a sudden started to having panic attacks.
Mhm.
There's no reason for that, but just getting it because they're feeling that energy.
Yeah.
They're feeling that from the schools, and they have to wear the mask, and it's going in the subconsciousness. As you get more sensitive, you're feeling that something bad agenda is trying to push. So alone by positive thinking, it will not go away. So we have to trust our instinct. So for example, imagine a bird. You're on a bird, you're a bird, okay, and you're flying. So you're sensing, oh my gosh, there might be a hurricane coming. So you're not saying, oh, I'm thinking positive. No, the hurricane is not coming. Oh, I just should balance myself and ground myself. No, you're flying away, right? And you fight. You fight that, which would be crazy to fight a hurricane, or you fly away. Right now we are trapped, so we cannot act. We are trapped in our homes, and so we cannot really act on our instincts. So of course it creates a lot. This is normal. It creates a lot of feelings, and in my opinion, if we are honest with that, with ourselves and with others, we can create that compassion and that love, what we all need right now to go through that. So, and I think the guy who threw out the television from his window, he got he felt so good after that, because imagine that he could not fight, he cannot open his hotel. He is completely stuck by the laws. He doesn't believe anymore anything he says. At least for that time, he threw out his television. How happy he was! So
Yeah.
we have to kind of finding that moments and creating that moments and accepting that. So I just want to say that it's not a normal situation, and I'm also convinced that we, aware or not aware, feeling that energies of other souls, not just ourselves, but of all the souls and even our ancestors. I'm sure. I mean, I had some dreams. My grandfather came, and said to me, "Oh, that and that might happen, or we had that happen in Germany, and take care." So that is all the energy we feel.
Yes.
So I see that information. Sarai, please lead the followers to connect to ground too? Yes, I do that. First, I have to answer that because that is very, very interesting. So, what could it mean when you become invisible in the mirror during mirror gazing? That is very interesting. um, yeah. So you experience that you are not the illusion you think you are. And I know a friend of mine, Mayuri, who lives in the US, experienced that. And then she went to the ocean and she looked into the water and she had no mirrors nowhere for 3 to 5 days, like a vampire. I mean, other people saw her in the mirror, just she didn't saw herself, and she was really freaked out. But what it all comes to, that you see that is a big illusion, that the form you have is a big illusion, and that we are connected to the higher energy, connecting to us and the universe. So if you stay and don't freak out, and you sit and meditate, then the next step of consciousness will happen, where you can merge with the universe, and your consciousness will expand. So that's very, very, very good symptom, super good symptom in your meditation. So I know it's freaky, and I had a little bit of experience like that, where my face changed and I kind of started to disappear, and it's like, oh, so don't get panic. It's a good symptom. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like face change, like you start to see so many things.
Yes. So let's talk about that for a little bit again. How to connect ground? I think that is a really good question. And I think, I think that was his first day of meditation. Congratulations, your soul is ready, dude. Your soul is ready to take off. So continue your practice, whatever you do, it's working. So I think one thing Danilo just said is really going into action. And I can absolutely recommend you right now to walk barefoot as much as you can, go into the nature, even if you don't have a garden or any beautiful nature connected to you. If you have a little balcony, you can even do permaculture on the balcony. So to work with your hands in the earth is always, the earth element is always connecting to the heart. And once the heart chakra is connecting again to the earth, you're making a bond there. So, but for that, we have to be outside in the nature. So that is very important. We have to do that. And to sit there, today I just sat there, and I'm very happy I did that, because otherwise I'm sure I would have crashed today, which is also okay. Some days we crash. I mean, as I said, it's a very intense situation, especially for sensitive souls. You have to see that some souls are so afraid to feel that they make a lot of walls. But the next step is to feel it, and then you have to discharge. And very powerful in that is using ash. The Indian tradition is always doing that, sitting in front of a fire, sitting in the nature. If you look at all the yogis, even the shamanic traditions, they do that. But in India, all the sadhus, yogis, they sit and just they stare at the fire. Why? The eyes discharging the negative energy, and the most powerful element for doing that is the fire element. So that is what I really recommend. If you don't have that in your nature, please stare every day in a flame, because fire is also that energy which gives you again a little bit of energy to act again, and like a positive aggression, and like the energy you need to stand up, and to stand up to your truth, but also do actions, and to do one of the next steps. So if we don't act, then there's always too less fire. And if we are not grounded, we are also somewhere up here, and we're making a story there, which has nothing to do with the reality. So the two elements, earth and fire, which are that are right now the most important elements. So ash is, so there's holy ash we can get from India. You can also check out my online shop, if I may. I put it here. I import ash. It's crazy. It sounds crazy for some people. I mean, the first time I brought it in the, is that .com, I think. First time I put it in my suitcase, and I remember many years back, I'm flying over Delhi. I'm flying over how do you say over Dubai, and I opened up my suitcase, and they checked my suitcase and had a lot of ash in it, and they're like, "What are you transporting ash?" Like, kind of, no, that's not my grandma. That is, that is really ash from the holy temples. Why from the temples? Because the priests do so much rituals, chanting mantras, and so if we put that on our third eye here, it's our heart chakra. Also there we have Saphir, our different chakras. So where our belly is, our belly button, then that energy is burning, is transforming. So that is a very powerful thing to do. And another thing is very powerful is really sit and watch the fire. And I know yogis who do that anyway all the time, and they are sitting outside because there's beautiful weather all the time in India. They don't have the hard winters like what we have in Germany, and they sit and they just have the chai, and the people come and they just sit there. So yeah. And also, yes, sure, Havan. I mean, there are different ways. So there's a normal Duni. Duni just means just a fire. So it doesn't matter. It's just a fire. You can just have the wood inside. And then there are Havans and Pujas, so where priests are involved. And right now, to create very high positive energy, I think it would be very, very good, especially Sudarshana chakra, connecting to the Sudarshana chakra of Vishnu, because he is destroying with the Sudarshana chakra. He is taking off the demons' heads. So Sudarshana is always a big protection against negative, evil, aggression, energy. I hope that a lot of people in India and priests and gurus are understanding what's going on. I don't know if the people understand in India, because I know since the people took over from England in India, many Indian people became very obeying, and in my opinion, too much. I mean, they should be proud of their country and about the history they have of thousands of years connecting to yogis and sadhus. Wow, they should be really good, proud on that level of knowledge they have. Yeah. So I hope that at least some people there are awake in India and doing that, because that is what really will change the frequency also of the not just about themselves, but also on the universe. And for ourselves, that is always helping very, very much, connecting to earth and connecting to fire.
Yes. I think one thing that I would like to add is, whenever you do any of these connection, it's very important to open yourself. Like,
Yes.
be it on when I go to, for example, when I go to nature, I always talk with the trees. Like in my head, I'm talking. I am opening myself to let that to connect. I'm trying. I visually see myself opening, and I allow anything to flow. So the process, like, because if you're closed, you might not feel the connection, the discharge, or it might take longer. So to connect yourself, you can talk with the environment, with the trees. You will notice that the answer, or and also to don't fight the process. Like, whenever you go into the nature or in the fire process, some things might rise. It depends, like every time is different, but some things might rise. Some internal things might start to flow out of you, on inside you. And when that happens, just let that happen. Just observe, keep yourself open to the process, and you see that, if you stay like this for 10-20 minutes, you will come to that place that you want to be, in that place of stillness, of connectedness. Like, it's like, when you're cleaning yourself, the first thing that happens, that starts to pop up, might be the bad things first. You start to have some anger or some things, but that means that it's going out of you. So I think when negative energy is going out of you, it shocks you. You might have some thoughts, some images, but just let that flow. And the faster that happens, the faster you will get discharged of negativity. So open yourself. If you want, you can talk with the energy and just allow the process to happen. Don't try to
Right.
see, okay, I'm in nature and now I'm feeling more stressed, like just 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 wait,
I want to have it
let
work right now.
yeah,
No. Yeah, I
yes,
want to
go
say
into the tree.
something. Yeah, that's
Yes.
beautiful. I want to say something to the anger, Danilo. I mean, I see just right now. This is, I think, it's a Pandora is standing here. It
Yes.
gives us such a
Oh,
beautiful.
that's nice.
See, this is a Pandora, and it to the lights. In this
Uh-huh.
beautiful
Yes.
angelic lights right now.
Yes.
It was not planned, so it's really nice. So I want to say something to the anger. I know that many spiritual people think that anger is not good. And of course, anger is a bad energy if we don't control it. If anger takes over on us, and for example, my kid is spitting down some juice, and I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? That's wrong anger, right? But if I look up to the siddhas and the saints of India, if you look back to the big traditions, you see Agastya, for example. He was a huge angry guy, super angry guy. The big siddhas of India, they use the anger, and I still know a lot of sadhus also having that fire in their eyes because they're like, wow, they cannot see injustice and they don't care. It's not about themselves. It's not about their own peace. They care about the peace of the world. And there's like a holy anger, let's say like that, or like an anger which you control to a different energy. So I want to say that releasing anger on things that is not necessary is important, that we have to control that. But sometimes becoming too sattvic can also create like an illusion bubble in us and make us not act in a time where we should act. So I personally feel that anger when I see a lot of injustice. And then I feel that anger, and that I don't want to meditate away. I personally want to use that anger and work with that anger. So I just want to say that that's also there's a certain energy of Shiva, that's Rudra. So he is that energy of Shiva. I mean, there's a very peaceful Shiva. Yeah, he is just meditating. He just doesn't care. It's very beautiful. Then there's this Rudra. Same like with Kali, she is getting up so upset if there's a lot of injustice in it. So if you feel that might be also sometimes important to use that energy to create something, to write a blog article, to do some active things, to talk to people, to not just accept everything that happens and then don't stand up for the rights of the planet and the human being. So I just want to mention that as well. There are different levels of anger and different levels of peaceful, and sometimes to come out of balance can be a good thing for us to trigger the part of, okay, here's enough. I mean, we all have that level of here's enough. I don't know what kind of levels people tolerate, but everybody has that level of this
Yes.
injustice is too much, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which type of ground should I avoid of connect? I'm just thinking, what are you asking there? That's interesting. I personally feel super disturbed if I go into a supermarket and there are dead animals hanging or selling. I cannot see that. It makes my heart bleed. I cannot understand people eating that. I mean, that is something I personally avoid. And I also avoid, places where there's a lot of drugs or drinking, or also where I know some bad rituals might happen. So connect to the nature as much as you can. And also very beautiful, I want to give some hints. Nature produces power objects just by its own. And so if you see in a river, like a black stone in any river, you'd see it's just a normal black stone, right? And that river gives that energy, gives the energy to the stone. And that stone has the ability and powerful energy to decharge your negative energy. Also, any black rock on the top of a mountain does the same. So right now, if you do walks right now in the forest, or if you walk anywhere, you can also look up, is there any special object which supports you Is there any vibration that connects to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I want to share one more thing before
Yeah,
we
sure.
end. The subject of grounding in nature. I just want to share that I personally have a very big problem to go with a mask in a shop. Because I feel this is not my nature. I don't believe this, and this is like for myself. It's I'm lying to myself. So at least I put a message on. Yeah, at least I write lie on it or stop Bill Gates or I just wear that because it's too expensive not to wear it or something. Yeah. So, but what I mostly do is avoiding to go shopping at all right now because it's like it's going against myself so much, and I have a big problem to be not authentic with myself.
Yes.
And this time we started to produce more food in the permaculture that we normally do. And I want to share on that. It is very interesting. One experience we had last week is where we planned like salads and stuff, and then we thought, but what if would be if we don't plant anything? What else can we eat? And we just saw some documentation about permaculture, about what the nature is producing, and we came to that point that we can eat almost everything which is growing and so tasty. I mean, I don't know all the names of that herbs here in English, but it's amazing. And I was thinking, my gosh, why at all we need to go shopping? How much away we are already from nature? How much away we are from a healthy, normal lifestyle that nature is giving us everything we need. What our grandparents knew before of getting potatoes or something and then store them for 1 year that they don't get moldy. How much we know about how to if we get carrots out of the earth, how we can store them that they can stay over the whole winter. So this is something we are right now learning. And also permaculture is something very beautiful where you can take things which are broken. For example, we had an old washing machine and it broke, and we took in maybe you can help me, Danilo, please, inside of that, how do you name it, is a silver thing where you're washing your clothes inside.
I
That
don't know much
that silver
about.
thing. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That silver thing,
Yes,
which is,
yes, yes, yes. A
and we
cylinder
built,
or
yeah, something, and we built it out. So that's the trommel, so where we normally the laundry washes, and we took it out, and now we will put it in the earth to create an earth cellar. So a small earth cellar for having things there without even having electricity. And so we are personally right now, my husband and I, we are very much involving in that and trying to live off the grid and trying to, on what extent we could even live without money. I mean, that is just an experiment.
yes.
And so we are thinking, so maybe that is also showing us of how many things we buy in the shops we don't know and we don't need. And we creating plastic and a lot of waste, and how much we are already disconnected to the nature. And I think that's another thing we should, in my opinion, really see how much gifts the nature is giving us and what we can create also.
Yes.
Mm, yeah,
Yes.
so it's
Yes.
interesting.
Permaculture is so beautiful. I want to study a little bit more about permaculture also. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
so
some friends who
I
are
have some
very
friends
good.
who do that.
Yes,
Ah,
yes.
cool, cool. So permaculture is also using the waste. So you don't throw
Yes.
anything away, and for example, if a
Yes.
washing machine breaks, you still see, okay, what can I use and how I can
Uh-huh.
exit it. It's amazing.
It's about
And yeah,
the connecting the processes.
you know,
Yes, yes.
and don't
Very
create
interesting.
so much waste, and don't create more consume, and
Yes.
just yeah. And I think this year our garden becomes a little bit paradise because of where I don't want to go shopping with a mask.
Yes. So the pressure helped you in some way.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So just one thing, like my nose, it's a little bit stuck, but it's not because I'm I'm sick or anything. It's because
Corona.
it's when because now it's getting colder in Brazil, and I usually have a sensitive nose, and
Yes.
so usually when it gets cold, I have like my nose gets like this a little bit. So don't worry, I'm
Don't
not
worry,
sick.
it's not contagious over the internet either.
Yes.
Okay, so how much time we should devote to meditation? Maybe you want to say something at the end for this, Danilo?
So I would say that meditating at least um, programming yourself to meditate at least 5 minutes and meditating 5 minutes every day compared to okay, I'm going to meditate 1 hour and just meditate once a week. It's better to meditate 5 minutes every day. So you start with something that you feel comfortable, that it doesn't, you're not going to go out and run a marathon from the first day, but if you say okay, I'm going to go out and run 1 kilometer every day, and then I'm going to two, and then to three. So you start with something that you feel comfortable with, and then try to go up to 1 hour every day. But don't try 1 hour from the first day, or you get too. It's too much work, too much hard work, especially in this time. So if you think 5 minutes is something you can do every day, then do that, and then every week add 5 minutes more, and then 5 minutes until you get to 1 hour. If you have been practicing for 6 months or more, then you should be able to meditate for at least 1 hour every day, and then that's good. That's the amount that it's recommended. But you don't get there from tomorrow, like okay, I say it's 1 hour and you go there tomorrow. No, it starts at least that's what I recommend to people when they start to meditate. Always try to do a minimum amount that you can do every day, and but have a goal of meditating 1 hour. It's not that okay, I'm going to stay 5 minutes forever. No, do that,
Mm.
and then have a goal of um, meditating for 1 hour every day. So it's like start to run 1 kilometer every day, but have a goal of running a marathon maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years. So but 6 months should be enough for anyone to be able to meditate for 1 hour every day. So yeah, so that's how I think that's how much time I think you should devote. Your minimum, but your goal should be 1 hour.
Yes, perfect. Okay, dear divine souls, dear beautiful souls. So maybe we can talk about karma. I mean, I like this idea, the suggestion
Yes,
that we do our next live stream next week about
yes,
karma and the different levels, the own karma. I mean, the collective karma, paying karma forward. Unfortunately, I think I have that book in India, but I still know a lot of things that were saying there because I was like, what? You can pay karma forward, you can pay it for other people. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful subject. We can do the live
yes. Talk
stream next
about
week.
last week. Yes.
Mm.
Okay. Let's talk about
Okay,
karma.
super.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Danilo, please stay good and say hi to your family. All my
Okay.
love.
And say
And
hi to your kids also.
I know, I will do that. I mean,
Bharati.
Gabriel Shiva always says Lolo here, Lolo. Sometimes he says Lolo here. And yeah, I want to say we are open again on Darkness Retreat. We got a special permission. We have our first guest here right now. So we're very happy to be
That is
again
great.
on our job. So it's great. And yeah, guys, so let's stay positive and create in your thoughts and in your meditations, and also stay awake and alert. And in my opinion, it's a good time to demonstrate for our rights. Take care,
Yes.
everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Namaste.